oh boy, do we have a show for you today on Countdown to Restoration as we count down the days of the horrible, maniacal, stupid Biden regime. They're not very bright. Maybe stupid's not the right word, but came to mind. Episode 112 here. I'm Danny Thompson, and we are going over the days of the said thief in chief. Yeah. The thief in chief. Yeah. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. Now, if you'd like to catch up on some episodes you missed, Rumble channel, capital DANWT, YouTube, just Danny Thompson. Yeah. Well, we started it before we were doing this. How did I know it was going to grow into a multinational show? Isn't it? Will it? Who knows? Anyway, we're going to jump right in. So much. We can't do it all. I need 12 hours, but then it'd take 40 hours to go through everything. The poster child, as we move quickly on, and I try not to get caught up in myself, poster child for the Biden regime, Dr. Rachel Levine, just shows you they don't have a clue what they're doing. They think he is a she, but then he thinks he's a she. And why do we point this out? Because he isn't a she. And because they're trying to put this in the young people of not only America, but in the world, that this makes a difference. And they use drugs. It's not just putting on a dress. They let them use drugs. Children. They're trying. If the LGBTQ Equality Act passes, whatever it's called, your children could be taken away from you if you don't want your he to be a she. 8 and 9-year-olds. 9-year-olds could decide. That's why we point this out. It's not just having fun. I don't wish any ill toward this person like that. It's just this is wrong. We need to see what we're doing to the world. What we're going to do to our young people. It's pretty sad.
The buildings reach up to the sky. The traffic thunders on the busy street. The pavement slips beneath my feet. I walk alone and wonder, who am I?
I mean, really, just because he wonders who he is, no reason everybody else should. You may not be happy with who you are, but putting on men's pants if you're a girl or women's clothes if you're a boy, that doesn't change who you are. That's not making the problem right. Anyway. And we have a lot of Cuomo news if we can get to it. Andrew Cuomo's daughter, Michaela, comes out as demisexual. We're always evolving, meaning her. She talks about herself in the third person. We're always evolving. Demisexual. And I say, well, that's a new one. Well, we're going to figure it out together. During their chat, Michaela explained that identities mostly as demisexual, which PFLAG, I don't know, describes as individuals who only feel sexually attracted to someone when they have an emotional bond with the person. A demisexual person can be gay, straight, bisexual, or pansexual and can have any gender identities. In other words, you're just not out having sex for fun. You actually want a meaningful relationship. So, you didn't know there was a name for that. See, if you're like a normal person, you're demisexual. When I was in elementary school, I learned that I was lesbian. When I was in elementary school, I don't even think I knew that there were lesbians. What? I feared I was lesbian, excuse me. When I was in middle school, I came out to my family and close friends as bisexual. When I was in high school, I discovered pansexuality. and thought that's the flag for me. Fans, I don't know. I mean, why do you have pansexual and bisexual? And I mean, weren't the 3 terms enough? Don't they cover everything? I've recently learned more about demisexuality and have believed that that identity resonates with me the most, she went on to say. See, and why do we have to know about her or anyone else's sexuality? Why is that important? Why does that free them to tell everybody? It's just a narcissistic trait. I want you to know about my sexuality. It's the same as the guy in the locker room or the girl in the locker room or wherever girls do it, bragging on all their sexual exploits. It's just narcissism. See me, see me, see me. Come on. This is the high, it's narcissism. There are other problems, but that's got to be one of it. Oh, look at me. Everybody look at me. We could go on, but this is not Dr. Danny. So don't call in with your medical question. All right. Of course, Dr. Rachel Levine loves that about Michaela. Not happy with this, not going to Hungary over the summer. Hungary rejects EU demand to ditch shameful anti-LGBT law. Just LGBT, I'm sorry. Hungary wants to stay right. This is some of the footage that probably distresses Dr. Levine from Georgia when they were trying to protest for LGBTQ rights. Now, what strikes me about that, you know that the Eastern Orthodox Church is heavy there in Georgia, and why is it so many? They all have the same sign: love is love. Well, if I'm in love with someone, I don't take it to the streets. I don't want everybody to. I don't care if anybody agrees or not. Just so much about this, ladies and gentlemen. It's just political. It's all politics. It has nothing to do with realities. And this, because of time, I can't get into it, but if you want to look it up, there's plenty of articles on it. This is from the Washington Post. A trans woman undressed in a spa. Customers said they were traumatized and a protest ensued. So, a trans woman, which means what, boys and girls? A man dressed as a woman and going in the women's locker room and bathrooms. Exactly. Go to the head of the class. A famous spa in Los Angeles, Koreatown, became the latest site in a battle over transgender rights last week, drawing attention from conservative commentators nationwide. I guess that would include me. A week after a customer confronted spa staffers about a transgender woman apparently disrobing in the spa's women's section, protest over the situation turned violent. And, it's like, this is just going to be a hot button issue. People, I know we're provincial. We're always called provincial here in the United States, but as a rule, most parents do not want their young daughters to see naked men. It's weird. I know what's wrong with us. Shortly after the confrontation at Y Spa or We Spa or whatever spa, and days before the protest, the Supreme Court's decision not to hear a case on bathroom discrimination marked a win for transgender people across the nation. Those against gender-inclusive public facilities have long cited safety and privacy concerns, saying these accommodations could open the door for predators to enter spaces such as restrooms and changing rooms. A 2018 study from the Williams Institute, a research center focused on sexual orientation and gender identity law and public policy, found no link between gender inclusive policies and safety risk. And, you know, there's probably some, but it's really not the whole issue. But the crescendo to the violence over the weekend began with the same bathroom bill talking point. How can people be sure someone identifies as the gender they say? Well, that's really not even the point either, if I can get to the part of the story where it happened. The initial confrontation between an upset customer and spa staff happened after a transgender woman, again, a man pretending to be a woman, who has not been publicly identified, reportedly used the site of the spa reserved for women. In one video, a person who identifies herself as the spa's manager, all these identifies, asked whether the transgender woman did anything specifically inappropriate, and an upset customer replies that the person's genitalia was exposed in the woman's section of the spa. She was within the women's section, which you know is exactly where she should be, said Jay Red Rose, an organizer for San Diego Trans Pride. Anyway, California also has a law that you can't deny. You know, you can't keep female impersonators from using women's bathrooms and vice versa, all that. They had a riot. I mean, police were called, arrests were made. It was something. So it's something that these people probably are appalled at, that someone wouldn't want their young daughter to see a grown man naked in the women's bathroom. I mean, what's the point? You know, why get upset over that? Secular Democrats of America. You know, there's some women would have went up and punched the guy out. And they'd be in jail right now, I guess. I don't know. The manager of the spa just told the woman, well, perhaps you don't need to come back. Well, yeah, like we were going to. Huh? Secular Democrats of America, seculardems.org, will tell you all about these kind of attitudes and why they're the right ones, because they leave God and religion and just morality out of everything. Yeah. All right, a few things we never know what to do. This kind of fits because the secular Dems of America are upset about this, want more liberal justices on the Supreme Court. Judge strikes down challenge to new Georgia voting restrictions. So the Supreme Court upheld the Arizona voting restrictions, which aren't restrictive, and a federal judge has upheld the first challenge to the Georgia voting restrictions, which I'm sure will be appealed on demand. Because you know why? They're not really restrictions. It's just, voting has never been, you know, Biden wants to tell you that gun ownership has always come with restrictions, and it hasn't. And then they want to tell you that voting has, was originally intended to be restriction free, which it wasn't. You know, there's a time you couldn't vote in most of the U.S. if you weren't a property owner. Yeah, it didn't matter who you, it didn't matter what color you were or what, you had to own property. So there's always been restrictions. Women couldn't vote, no matter the color, no matter if they own property. There's times some places women couldn't own property. Let's leave this country. It's horrible. It's making me upset. New PSA, public service announcement, advises arrest subjects to comply now, complain later. Really? Like, don't fight if the officer's trying to arrest you and end up getting killed. Just get arrested and let's work it out later? Really? That's your advice? The advice we've been given since forever? My parents, my dad told me when I started to drive. And I'm white. I got the talk and I'm white. Very white. I'm white. I can't help it. I grew up in a white family, grew up in a basically white neighborhood. There were no black kids in my elementary school. Didn't get our first black teachers till I was about in 5th grade. Please leave me alone. I feel shamed enough. I'm admitting it to you. We went to churches where it was all white. I don't know what was wrong with us. But I got the talk. There were some areas around where I lived that were not, I grew up in Dallas City proper, the city of Dallas proper. There were some suburbs did not like teenage white boys or any boys driving around their towns after a certain time. Some even had curfews at the time. My dad sat down and explained to me and told me no matter what, if a police officer pulls you over, you do what he says. Even if it's wrong, you do what he says, and then we'll figure it out later. Of course, he said, if you're the one that messed up and they were right to arrest you or whatever, don't call on me, because I'm not going to come down and bail you out. You're going to sit there where you belong, little mister. I added the little mister part because it sounded good. But we got the talk. Just do what they say, and you probably won't get hurt. Probably, I understand I said probably, but that's going to be a new PSA. It's already started airing in places. Figure it out later. Do what the officer says. That way you have much less chance of being killed. Wow, I can't believe somebody finally figured that out. This is sad, and I don't know what to do about this. Methamphetamine in waterways may be turning trout into addicts. How do you send trout to rehab? I don't know. Are they safe to eat? Something's not right with that. Yeah, how's methamphetamine getting into our waterways, Danny? Through the toilet, mostly. You know, people, they urinate and other things, and they flush things down toilets, and it's bad for the fish. Trout becoming meth addicts. Yeah. I don't know, Forrest Gump, but that's all I got to say about that. What do you do about that? Find methamphetamine addicts, you know, people with meth, fine them for contributing to the addiction of trout. Well, they should pay for it, I guess. This bad news, if I'm not a coffee drinker, I've never liked the taste of coffee. Okay, turn me off, never listen to me again, you coffee bigots. Your coffee is about to get more expensive thanks to the latest shortage. Everything's getting more expensive. Everything's in short supply. The only thing that's not in short supply are the things that no one wants. And shortages, they're not in short supply. Yeah, coffee's going up. I remember years ago, coffee went, my grandparents my grandmother hit the roof because it went up a bit, and man, that was a long time ago. So it's still going up. Anyways, we try to move on. Let's do this. It's COVID. It's not only COVID, as we're learning. This is going to be an insightful segment. We're going to learn a lot. First of all, COVID expert, vaccinated people can spread the Delta variant. Yeah, so let's go back to masks and lockdowns. A lot of countries are. You know, Biden's not calling for that. You know why? Because he knows the economy would crash and all his numbers would look bad. If Trump was in office, they'd be screaming, "Shut us down!" Delta variant already dominant in U.S. CDC estimates show. Yeah, that's the king. Now then, I'm going to play something that doesn't seem to fit here, but as you'll see, it does. This is about shooting in Chicago of a local officer and 2 ATF agents. I do not believe any of them died, but of course they're trying to bring law and order there. It was asked on the airplane to Wisconsin today, and we don't have Karine Jean-Pierre, the history-making deputy press secretary lesbian. We have Jen. So anyway, this question was asked, and it does fit this segment, trust me.
Chicago, there's 3 officers shot overnight, one of whom was an ATF agent. There's an older man in Chicago who is asking that the president come in the wake of what happened. He says, quote, our communities and police officers are under siege. What's the president's message as we are about to land there, and he's about to meet with the mayor of that city?
Well, let me first say that we are closely monitoring the situation in coordination with the Department of Justice and ATF. We stand ready to provide any assistance needed. Our thoughts go out to the 2 ATF agents and the Chicago Police Department officer who were wounded, as well as their families and fellow agents and officers. As the president has said many times, every time a law enforcement officer pins on their shield and walks out the door, they're carrying a sacred responsibility. I will note that in terms of the efforts the president has underway to address the rise in violence we've seen over the last 18 months, including in Chicago, there are a number of steps that impact Chicago directly and specifically, including his rescue plan is giving cities like Chicago alone is getting almost $1.9 billion through the rescue plan. Cook County is getting over $1 billion, and the state government of Illinois is receiving an additional $8.13 billion. As a part of our gun crime reduction strategy, Chicago is also taking part in a community violence intervention collaborative with 15 jurisdictions nationwide to help them invest in proven evidence-based, community-based strategies. And Chicago is also one of the 5 cities we announced recently that's going to be, we're going to be working with the Department of Justice, going to be working with and launching a gun trafficking strike force. There's 4 other cities, I should say, nationwide, to help interrupt gun trafficking corridors that send crime into Chicago from across the city and state lines.
Will he visit?
Will he visit? Our plans today have not changed in terms of our travel plans.
No president wants to be seen in Chicago, at least not a Democratic president, although Trump went there. Now, none of these things are going to stop the crime that's happening in Chicago. None of them. And the money they're talking about rescue plan, that is for states and counties, and that's not just a police crime package. That's not money to help your local law enforcement unless it's just to keep people hired, and it's not going to go there. I mean, they've just changed the meaning of the American Rescue Plan to the American Crime Prevention Act or something. But and the Wall Street, Washington Post gave Jen 3 Pinocchios for continuing to say that Republicans are for defunding police. Should have been 4. But anyway, what does that have to do with COVID? As horrible as all that is, and the fact that Biden doesn't have a solution for it, no, none of the Democrats do. The man, an aside, if I might, the former police chief of Detroit, who is a black man who has moved from the Democratic Party to the GOP and is running for governor of Michigan and should win if Michigan was smart. He said all along, no, it's a crime problem. And he even carries a gun. He believes in carrying a gun. He believes crime is crime. None of this other stuff. So if you're in Michigan, vote for the man. But anyway, they don't have a solution. But what does this have to do with it? Because this is how they're going to start framing it, and you're about to understand why Cuomo is still there. Cuomo, his daughter who is a demisexual? That's right, that same Cuomo. That one. I told you a lot of Cuomo news. So let's get to this little report on it.
We're post-COVID, but there's still low tide inequality, and it is still a matter of life and death. We went from one epidemic to another epidemic. We went from COVID to the epidemic of gun violence and the fear and the death that goes along with it. It's been all over the newspapers. It is undeniable. It's so bad that when you look at the recent numbers, more people are dying of gun violence than of COVID. People are dying every day out there. Time is not on our side. Begin by acknowledging the problem. And you know what the problem is? It is a statewide problem, and it is an emergency. And I want the people of the state to understand that. And I want them to respond to the emergency for the way it is. So today, first state in the nation is going to declare a disaster emergency on gun violence. We also need a comprehensive plan of attack. We're going to have 7 steps. 1, treat gun violence as it is, which is really a public health emergency. That's what it is, and that's how we're going to treat it. Second, target the hot spots where the gun violence is coming from. It's not coming from every community everywhere. You can find out exactly where it's coming from, and you can target it. Third, you have to have a positive engagement with the at-risk youth. You can't just say, no, don't do it. You have to have a positive that you're applying.
And our clip does not give all 7 steps, which, trust me, don't get any better. You can't just say, no, don't shoot someone. Worked pretty well for years, I don't know, but it seemed to work, and if you do shoot someone, you're going to jail. But see, now it's a new emergency. Gives him special powers. All right, see, they've always got a plan. Always have a plan. And it's not a crime issue, it's a public health issue. It's an epidemic. Okay, it's not caused by a virus like COVID. It's caused by people who want to shoot people. And there's a quick way to take care of that. It's just like every STD crisis and the AIDS epidemic. Oh, what will we do? This is an epidemic. How do we stop it? Really? Don't do what causes it. COVID, unlike COVID's just everywhere. People were locked in, still got it. This is all preventable. It could be shut down really quick. Rudy Giuliani did it. Mayor Bloomberg did it with stop and frisk. Stopped a lot of violence in New York City. See, but they don't want to stop it. They want to use it. Just like for the longest time, they didn't want to stop COVID. They wanted to use it. These people are evil. When will we understand that? New York Governor Cuomo announces first of its kind gun violence disaster emergency and targets manufacturers. They are using this man. That's why he's still there. We're going to need you for some things, Gov, so we're going to keep you around if you'll agree. Oh, yeah, I want to be governor. Yeah, I want to stay here. We'll make sure they don't do a vote against you. We'll protect you, but need you to do some test work for us. A test of water. See how it goes. Okay, Gov? Oh, yeah, do I get to... I don't have a horrible New York Italian accent, I know. Do I get to keep bothering women and harassing them? Oh, yeah, you do whatever you want, Gov. We don't care. Spend all the money, go out and do whatever you want. Just do what we ask. Okay, because I don't want to be governor if I can't keep harassing people and making speeches and feeling important. Oh, yeah, do all that. We let Biden do it. Why not you? Oh, okay, I'll do it. What do I care? It's true. It's what happens. It's exactly what happens. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed an executive order on Tuesday declaring a first-in-the-nation disaster emergency on gun violence and outlining several steps the state will be taking to quell the bloodshed, particularly that which affects at-risk youth, and really arresting people isn't part of it. Speaking to an audience at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City, the Democratic governor also signed legislation that closed a loophole that allowed people with outstanding warrants for their arrest to purchase guns, according to a Tuesday press release. Well, the loophole would have been if you hadn't been arrested and charged yet. Just because you have a warrant doesn't mean you're guilty and should have your rights taken away. Do you realize what they can do with this? They can get anybody now. Sometimes you don't even know there's a warrant out for your arrest. But, that's what we do. None of this really because they still have early parole, cashless bail, and all that. It's not about keeping people off streets. All they got to do is issue a warrant for your arrest, and then they can come and take your guns. People, you got to put 2 and 2 together. I know it says X plus 2 equals 4, and you think, oh, I'm not good at algebra, but it's still pretty simple. Cuomo began his press conference touting New York's response to the novel coronavirus pandemic. You mean the response that thousands died under because you put sick people in nursing homes with a very vulnerable population? You mean the response that New York had that decimated its economy while still being one of the top states where people died? Wow, this should work out really well then, shouldn't it? Yeah. See, the media's still saying this. Oh, he did a great job. They've all forgotten that he had his hands all over women, his mouth running them down, and killing all the senior citizens. I'm telling you, he's protected. If you want to do what you want, become a Democratic politician, but stay in favor, which means you have to do things like this. He said 51 people had died over the 4th of July weekend, while only 13 had suffered COVID-19 related deaths. And that's horrible, but there are ways to take care of that, ladies and gentlemen. We went from one epidemic to another epidemic. We went from the COVID to the epidemic of gun violence and the fear and the death that goes along with it. When you look at the recent numbers, more people are dying of gun violence than of COVID. We're losing young people. And why are they just now concerned about this? If Trump was in, it'd all be his fault. They wouldn't say a word. It's been going on in Chicago forever. Nobody says a word. The executive order, he said, says to everyone in the state, I want you to understand the extent of the problem. I want you to understand how serious this is. Cuomo added that the order will also make available more money and programs to benefit the gun violence prevention efforts. He called gun violence a public health emergency, and with that announced that he would be creating an Office of Gun Violence Prevention within the Department of Health. It's not a crime issue anymore. It's gone the way of drugs. Remember when drugs used to just be a crime and then it became an illness? Yeah, it's the same thing. Oh, I couldn't help it. I want to shoot people-itis. I don't know. It's who I am. It's a health thing, doc. It's a health thing, judge. We're going to send you to treatment so that you won't feel the need to kill people anymore. Oh, thank you, judge. I remember what the treatment used to be. A long time in a hard prison, and sometimes, some of you, this is back in the old days, they used to actually put people who killed people to death. Yeah, well, that's not a deterrent. It stopped that person. Gun violence is the #1 cause of premature death in the United States, he said. What's premature? Before your time. Well, wouldn't that be cancer? Cancer kills more people than any... I didn't have time to look that up yet, but depends on what you call premature, I guess. I don't know. Gun violence not only taking a human toll, it's taking an economic toll, so we have no choice but to address it. It's the right thing to do. It's also the smart thing to do, and in many ways, this state can't afford not to do it. The executive order will also put $138.7 million toward prevention, intervention, and employment programs for at-risk youth, including a $57 million investment toward creating 21,000 jobs for youth over the summer through local, city, and state agencies. Summer's almost done, Gov. So by the time you get this set up and running, they'll work for 3 to 4 weeks before starting school. Good grief. Other aspects of the order will require police agencies to share incident-based data so authorities can target gun violence hotspots, and will create a gun trafficking interdiction unit within the New York State Police. All this is Biden stuff. I'm sure local police departments would gladly share where the violence is, right? New York State Republican leader, now here's where we get to the truth of it. slammed Cuomo's announcement as political grandstanding and said the gun violence crisis has a direct link to the passage of state bail reform laws. Yeah, I mean, they won't talk about that. Days after finally relinquishing his emergency powers, the governor has declared another emergency, Ort said. The crisis in cities across our state today directly correlates with the passage of the disastrous bail and other criminal justice reforms, quote unquote reforms, an out-of-control parole board that has released countless murderers and other dangerous criminals, and calls by Democrats to defund our police. Immediately following his Tuesday afternoon announcement, Cuomo signed 2 bills pertaining to firearms sales and gun manufacturers. The first legislation opens the door for anyone to take legal action against a gun manufacturer using the argument that the product creates a public nuisance. According to the governor's office, products made by gun manufacturers can be considered public nuisances even if the gun manufacturer did not purposefully cause harm to the public, the press release states. So see, they're using New York as a test case. If this gets past the Supreme Court, then they're going to move on it nationally. The legislation will allow for a lawsuit to be brought in cases where reasonable controls and procedures are not in place, ensuring that responsible manufacturers and dealers will not be held accountable for the actions of criminal actors, the release adds. The second legislation prohibits any person who has an outstanding warrant for a felony or serious offense from purchasing a firearm. So, what do we have here, ladies and gentlemen? We have a test case. Now notice, you can't sue the gun manufacturer for criminal. Someone who's intending to do something wrong uses it. So I guess if someone accidentally shoots someone or someone gets, I don't know how they're going to do that. But yeah, that's the new pandemic. So now, doctor, you know, what's wrong with me? Yeah, you're experiencing gun violence. Here's a pill. I don't know. Just keep the methamphetamine away from the trout. That's all I know. All right, so interesting stuff. That's the way the country's going. Always going his way. Mr. Heinz Fortune there, married into the Heinz Fortune. You know, Mr. John Kerry, Mr. Anti-War person, the man that has the key to the environment in his private jet. I like it. Love that picture. All right, let's do it. Conservation group. I've been doing that all day to myself. Full support for embattled Biden Bureau of Land Management nominee over links to eco-terrorism. Links? She's a terrorist. Conservation group Dallas Safari Club sent a letter to Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee Chairman Joe Manchin, Democrat from West Virginia, and John Barrasso, Republican from Wyoming, rescinding its support behind Biden's BLM nominee Tracy Stone Manning. The organization cited its previous letter from June in support of Stone Manning to oversee BLM when the group wrote, Stone Manning is uniquely qualified to run the government agency. Well, that's where they knew anything about her. Since that time, the Dallas Safari Club has become aware of information that has made it impossible at this time to continue to back this nominee for the director of the Bureau of Land Management, the group wrote in the letter which was obtained by Fox. Yeah, she's a terrorist. She's one of those people Homeland Security should be, guarding us from. Destroyed property, tried to kill people, blew things up, turned state's evidence so she could get immunity, but she is a terrorist. Let alone the fact she wants humans not to be born anymore. This I don't have time to get into. I will save it maybe on a slow news day if we ever have one. I can, because this is just bizarre. City heat is worse if you're not rich or white. The world's first heat officer wants to change that. What did you say, Danny? The world's first heat officer. There are others following, and that's, I didn't have room for the whole picture. Too much sky there. But this woman lives in the Miami area, is going to be Miami's first heat officer. Yeah. Going to help people with the heat. We'll get them all air conditioning. No, that's why you're not the first heat officer. You don't understand. We can't just rely on air conditioning because air conditioning itself creates more heat. That's right. It may cool the inside, but it creates more heat outside. We've got to have better solutions than air conditioning. What will that be? Shady trees is a big one. Yeah, I'm telling you, what kind of heat officer would just say air conditioning? That's why they rejected your application. So Miami, a place known for heat, as a heat officer. I'm telling you. Of course, it's getting hotter there, so now they need to do something about it. But if you're white or rich, the heat doesn't affect you. No. Other than that frizzy hair thing. All right, where are we going now? I don't even know where we're at now. I'm almost out of time. I haven't done anything. Oh, yeah. Federal Trade Commission. More from the press gaggle on Air Force One. This is some overreach, ladies and gentlemen.
Part of the president's forthcoming executive order, fulfilling his campaign promise to promote competition in labor markets in order to raise wages and make it easier for workers to change jobs and to move between states. First, roughly half of private sector businesses require at least some employees to enter non-compete agreements, affecting over 30 million people. This affects construction workers, hotel workers, many blue-collar jobs, not just high-level executives. He believes that if someone offers you a better job, you should be able to take it. Makes sense. So in keeping with his campaign promise, the executive order will call on the FTC to adopt rules that curtail non-compete agreements. His executive order will also call on the Federal Trade Commission to adopt rules that ban unnecessary occupational licensing requirements. Today, almost 30% of jobs in the U.S. require a license, from attorneys and accountants to interior designers and hairdressers. While occupational licensing can serve important health and safety concerns, unnecessary or overly burdensome licensing can lock people out of jobs. This hugely affects military families in particular, over 1/3 of whom work in a field requiring a license and who are subject to military-directed moves every year. Finally,
why, Danny, is this an overreach? They're changing everything. Not even by law. They're going to have the Federal Trade Commission looking into your business on if you have a non-competitive agreement. What is that? Well, and in full disclosure, we used to run a business and we had non-competitive agreements. Why? Because you train someone, put time in them, and then they use that to go someplace else. Oh, I'll pay you more money now that you're a great employee. We had a janitorial business. Well, why would you have non-competitive agreement there? Because people can just quit and go to the next one. And then they tell everybody how you're doing things, your contracts. And this is common in construction. Lots of trades have it. And you can get out of it usually. And, we never enforced one because it wasn't worth, going to court. You just do it hoping it helps you retain your employees in lower level businesses. But they're just deciding, oh no, that's not fair. He doesn't like it. I mean, well, Mr. Big Stuff, who do you think you are? Yeah, sorry, I don't think of these till I'm doing the show. I know. That'd been perfect. But this I thought was strange on the FTC, and now I understand why, because they are hatching a lot of eggs there. Yeah, I know, it just came out. FTC staffers told to back out of public appearances. And a lot of people use certain FTC staffers, Federal Trade Commission staffers, at seminars and things like that, but because they need to know from them. But no, the new head said, no, we got too much to do. They don't want things coming out. They're just going to be hitting us right and left. Less than a week into Lena Khan's tenure as Federal Trade Commission chair, Her chief of staff ordered the agency staff to cancel all public appearances, according to internal agency emails viewed by Politico. In a June 22 email to more than 24 of the FTC's top staffers, Khan's chief of staff, Jen Howard, not related to Jen Psaki, I don't think, announced a moratorium on public events and press outreach. Wow, and the most transparent regime ever, huh? I mean, this is big, and it's not getting any attention because, that's just FTC. They control a lot. There's so much going on behind closed doors, and I still don't have that song. I just remembered it was a busy day. But we do have some Uncle Joe time coming, so let's do it.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction.
All right, old Joe's in Wisconsin today. Was it Clear Lake? I don't know. So we have a lot of stuff. We have this. I can't believe people actually think this. I mean, come on. This will shock you. Majority believes Biden officials, not the president, are secretly running the country. How could they? Wow. How could you watch what's going on and think this man is running anything? Sometimes he can't even run his mouth hardly. And so people are seeing it. I mean, how could you not? I guarantee you the whole world knows it. Only it's not the officials, it's the people above them. Whoa, kind of got big there. 57% of respondents to a Convention of States Action and Trafalgar Group said that the president is not fully executing the duties of his office. 36% said they were confident that he was directing all policy and agenda matters. Well, now we know 36% of the country needs mental health help. There was a disparity between political ideologies, as nearly 59% of Democratic voters said they thought Biden was in charge, meaning a lot of Democrats don't think that. 32% said he was not in charge. That's pretty high for Democrats, don't you think? All right, where are we going? 84% of Republican voters, that's all, said they did not believe Biden was fully executing the duties of his office. Only 11% of GOP voters believe he is directing all policy and agenda matters. 58% of independent voters said they did not believe Biden was fully executing the duties of his office, while 36% disagreed. Nearly 10% of Republicans and 5% of Republicans and independent voters answered they were not sure if Biden was directing the administration. The results of the poll proved that people deserve to know about Biden's physical and mental health, said Mark Meckler, president of the Convention of States Action. So, President Lincoln's famous refrain that you can't fool all of the people all the time has never been more relevant and critical to the survival of our American republic, said Meckler. The American people deserve transparency from the Biden administration as to the true state of the president's mental and physical health, and leaders in both parties in Congress need to follow through on this immediately. Hear, hear. Yeah, let's all agree. The continued failure to ask hard questions and demand real answers is a disgrace to the foundation of our democracy, he said, and he is correct. The poll was conducted between June 23rd through 25th among 1,086 respondents and had a margin error of plus or minus 2.97 percentage points. So, all right, we got a couple of things from Jen, and then we get to Joe. Let's go.
For all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and making clear that he was going to be the president for everyone, not just the people who voted for him. And certainly the most effective role he can play as president, as commander-in-chief, and certainly as leader of the party is to go out there and do what he does best, which is to be the explainer-in-chief and lay out the specific plans and specific ways, his plans, his proposals, and the agenda of the Democratic Party, but also his administration are going to help people across the country. And then
Well, if that's what Joe does best is be the explainer-in-chief, he's not very good at anything. Because if you listen to his speech today, it's not bad, but not good. He loses his train of thought, and he's got notes and a teleprompter. All right, but what is he there talking about? Things they have denied that they are doing, which they keep admitting that they're doing.
In Crystal Lake, the president will make the case for generational investments in human infrastructure and other critical priorities like clean energy that form his Build Back Better agenda, a combination of the American Families Plan and policies from the American Jobs Plan that aren't included in the bipartisan infrastructure framework.
Did you get that again? They are admitting we are putting things that didn't make it in the compromise bill that he said, no, that's not what's happening. They're putting it in the reconciliation plan. Joe tells us too. Don't you, Joe? Own up to it, pony, you dog-faced pony soldier.
That's why, in addition to the bipartisan infrastructure agreement that I believe we're going to get done, I'm here to make a case for the second critical part of my domestic agenda. It's a combination of parts of my American Jobs Plan that were essential and not included in the bipartisan infrastructure plan, as well as my American Families Plan. In Washington, they call it a reconciliation bill. That's a fancy way of saying, with a filibuster that our friends on the other side use constantly, more than ever been used in history. It means you got to get 60 votes to get anything done. We're a 50-50 Senate with a vice president who happens to be a Democrat. And back in the campaign, I said we're going to build back, and we're going to build back better. We can't just build back, we got to build back better. And today I want to...
No, he never explained reconciliation beyond that. I mean, the man, if he's the explainer-in-chief, we're never going to know what's going on. All right? But you heard him. To put things in that we can't get past otherwise after the compromise. So we're going to put it all in reconciliation. I don't. Republicans, why are you working with this man? Again, it's just what they do because they're not very bright. This is something they're doing, which may be good or bad. Biden targets children, spouses in visa crackdown on world's villains. So if you're on their villain target list, your family can't come here and go to college or whatever. So we're going to cut off their visas. But yet, we have a story we won't get to. You can be a criminal and come across the border. Come on. All right, quickly, girls, ladies, take it away. Unfortunately, you can buy a lot of people with their money. It's our money. It's not his money. But Biden's plans to raise taxes on corporations and the wealthy are losing momentum. Yeah, it's not sounding so good, Joe. Not sounding so good at all. Did the Biden regime just send a big signal on student loan cancellation? Because of time, I'll give you the short part. They just hired a guy as a counsel for the Department of Education that has been fighting, to get people out of student loans. And he believes that the president, under the act, has the authority to cancel out loans. So they are working on that. It's just some in the regime haven't believed the president has the authority. And they've been doing it a batch at a time anyway. So we'll see how that goes. How do you feel about that, Danny? My son has student loans, and it's not, and I realize kids going to college, they just do things. It's just not everybody's responsibility to pay for this. Got to get paid for somehow. And I agree, the federal student loan program is a problem because colleges and universities, they can just keep their prices as high as they want. Oh yeah, you can get it this way and that way. And it's easy to get, so. But hey, it's going to hurt someone somewhere. All right, so we move on from that. What time do we have? We got a little bit of time. Should we go to foreign affair? Do we have any more gin stuff here? What do we do? Oh, that's down there. All right, we'll try to get the foreign affair done. Patented move. Yeah. Foreign affairs. Do we have any? Oh yeah. This one happened over the weekend. Japan, U.S. must defend Taiwan together. Deputy Premier also says of Japan. China did not like that. Japan said quickly, "Oh, he was just saying his own personal opinion. It has nothing to do with us, big guy." Yeah, so lots of tension over there. Oil prices spiked to 6-year high. Now they have gone down a small percentage today, but not much off of this price, not enough. What's the problem? Thought we had some more foreign affairs stuff. The United Arab Emirates wants to pump more oil. They don't care about the price being high. They want to make more, and so other nations are arguing. West Texas Intermediate crude, the U.S. benchmark on Tuesday, climbed by as much as $1.82 to $76.98 a barrel, the highest since November 2014. Before pairing its gains, Brent crude oil, the international standard, neared $78 a barrel for the first time since October 2018. Both energy components reversed into negative territory later in the session. Today got around 71 and 72. So it did go down, but that's just really high. And so, where are we on time? Because okay, let's see what we can do here. Seems like I'm missing something, but we will see as we do. Hopefully you got your tacos yesterday, being Taco Tuesday. We did. All right, let's see what we got. Virus cases are surging at crowded immigration detention centers in the U.S. Yes, the Biden regime's in charge of that, so what do you do, huh? Representative Biggs slams unacceptable limits on ICE arrest, accuses Biden administration of dismantling enforcement. And as usual, he is correct. There's a picture of the old wall. Say goodbye to it. So long, see you, honey. Democrats plan to zero out wall funding as that family comes across the border and reduce Border Patrol money amid historic surge. House Democrats eliminated funding for the southern border wall and denied extra money for Border Patrol officers in a 2022 spending bill unveiled recently that comes amid a massive influx of illegal immigration. All right, so yeah, they're cutting that, the Border Patrol. Last week, a House Appropriations Subcommittee approved a $52.8 billion measure to fund Homeland Security for fiscal year 2022. Democrats who staunchly oppose President Donald Trump's efforts to complete a border wall and build up the Border Patrol to reduce illegal immigration say their measure makes responsible investments in border security, which means it does nothing. The bill would add no funding for additional Border Patrol agents or border barriers and would rescind $2.06 billion allocated during the Trump administration for the construction of a border wall. Excuse me. The measure would slash funding for the U.S. Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which carries, apprehends, and reports illegal immigrants. The bill would devote more money to programs aimed at processing illegal immigrants in the United States, which would allow them to shorten or avoid detention while seeking asylum. They want them in, not out. The measure would dedicate $170 million to build new integrated migrant processing centers, which are aimed at speeding up processing for illegal immigrant families, and $42 million for the Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, which reviews and investigates complaints against border and custom agents. Yeah, you see what they're doing, huh? Including violation of rights while in immigration detention or as a subject of immigration enforcement. So it's not hard to see where their priorities are. It's not protecting our borders. The measure would include an additional $10 million for a pilot program providing alternatives to detention for illegal immigrants. Democrats defended the spending plan in a hearing last week and said they are aimed at protecting children and families who cross into the U.S. and pose no safety risk. The bill is aimed at reducing enormous backlogs in refugee, asylum, and immigration benefit applications, they said. Not about keeping people out, it's about bringing people in. Not going to be able to finish the story. We have included provisions in the bill intended to reduce the over-detention of migrants as they proceed through the immigration adjudication process. If they are not flight risk, this is where they wanted to go, and pose no threat to public safety or national security, said Rep. Lucille Roy Ballard. I don't know. Roy Ballard, a California Democrat and chairwoman of the Homeland Security Spending Subcommittee, said. Rosa DeLauro, a Connecticut Democrat and chairwoman of House Appropriations, said the measure spends money on bolstering security at the nation's ports of entry and protects families and children who enter the U.S. across the southern border. Because, again, that's what it's about, getting them in. The measure would spend an additional $155 million on technology aimed at improving security at borders and entry points, and provides $20 million for body-worn cameras for immigration and border officers. That way, they got to be extra careful what they do. DeLauro touted $3 million in the bill that would pay for child care for unaccompanied children who have crossed the border in record numbers, and $20 million for immigrant processing improvements, which would address the physical and mental well-being of migrant families. So not only do we have to take care of them physically, but mentally. All right, Senate Democrats are writing their own homeland spending bill, and it will have to include more GOP input due to the 60-vote Senate threshold for passing legislation. A new Harvard-Harris poll show 80% believe illegal immigration is a serious issue and one that needs more attention from Biden or Vice President Kamala Harris, who Biden appointed to handle the crisis. A poll found 68% believe signals from Biden's White House are encouraging illegal immigration. Well, what do they know? And 55% believe that Trump's border closing policy should have been left in place. Boy, that's not good for them. Not that they care. And that does not belong there. So, all right, we'll leave it there. What are they telling us? Telling them to do, Rod Ruddy?
Angela Fuentes, come on down!
That's what they're telling them. All right, we've got to move along. I'm overdue, and boy, that does not go there. Okay, so we've got to get in some good old God formation time, and this is wild. I'm telling you, this is big stuff. Now we're going to set it up with Jen. Sorry about that. You thought you were through with her for the day, and this is about, and this fits. So listen to this. This is about the ransomware thing, and listen to what she says about it, which is important because, yes, it's been going on a while, but not like it is now, and they do realize that.
As it relates to the meeting that the president had earlier today, he met, the president and the vice president, I should say, met this morning with our national security team as a part of an internal update briefing on our across whole of government effort to address ransomware attacks. And now I would remind all of you that ransomware attacks are not new. They long predated this administration. What is new is this level of engagement at a high level, the highest level, ongoing high level engagement from our national security officials with the Russian government in expert level talks about cyber and ransomware attacks. So in the
All right, so that has been a question. Why is this ramping up now? Why? What happened? And they've been, it's been going on a long time, and now they're finally admitting, okay, so it's more now. We don't know why. We're doing what we can, an all-of-government approach. This is going to blow your mind, ladies and gentlemen, but it'll make sense to you. They know, but still will not say the cause of the cyber attacks and who is behind them, but they will not be honest. Russia does lurk in the shadows, but the real enemy are those that they protect and that in turn finance and protect them. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. One aspect of it is related to the other. Follow the money. You can't stop one while allowing the other. If you protect traffickers, you protect hackers. Woo. They are connected, and so they remain. Traffickers? What was President Trump working on? Angered a lot of people? Yeah. They're connected. They are bound. They are bound through party affiliates and high-placed people, and more potentially through Hunter and some unknown trysts, and so they are bound to the other. So the hackers take what they want while they stand by powerless on one hand because of what the other does. It's a regime of blood, ladies and gentlemen. So, to sum it up, the hackers know about the traffickers. They're all working together, and they can name names and this and that, so they're never going to come out and be able to do anything about this. That's why they've gotten bolder. That's why it's up more. Wild stuff. And yeah, Hunter's involved and other people. Yeah, everybody thought it was going to end with Jeffrey Epstein. No, he is just the one that could have exposed it all. It's sad, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, God bless you. God bless America. Pray for the country. Oh man, pray for the country. If you'd like to help us with our little broadcast, you can Venmo any amount that you wish. Danny-Thompson-02380, and it will help us greatly to put this on. Except maybe we can get a better background, some better cameras. Really, maybe. Oh, if someone was sending enough, I could get some production help. Nah, I know. Hey, $5 helps. But anyway, I'm going on. I'm not begging. I've got to go. Anyway, God bless you. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Share it. Get the word out. There's things in here that you've got to go through a lot of time to find, and it's not public knowledge to those who just watch the mainstream media. Anyway, God bless you. Make your voice heard. Pray one for another. Pray for the country. We'll see you tomorrow.